Welcome to another episode about Deneb. This is a custom visual made by Daniel Marsh-Patrick. Is an amazing visual. I mean, you can create very powerful scenes here using Vega-Lite as a declarative language here in Power BI. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to create these kinds of visuals of bar charts or column charts. It's not different than the previous ones, but we are going to create these bars behind with a diagonal stripe or this in color red for this kind of scenarios where you have to highlight something that maybe is not so clear to see in the first step on the or at first glance. So we have alternatives, but highlighting the background with something different maybe create a better representation of what if the meaning of this bar chart. If you see this here in May until December is another color, or the fiscal year, for example, different than if we say in the 1st of May, May 1st, until December. You don't have anything visually to compare the natural bar chart, the classic bar chart, with this bar chart, but having a different kind of backgrounds. So it will be interesting to see. And before we started, I'm going to remember that here we have the possibility in the webpage from sentidoanalitica.com. You can download this the 4 templates of this episode. Just the only thing you have to do is use the date field from the calendar table or your date table or table normally without calendar, and measure with a measure or a column with a quantitative value. Import for template, download the JSON from the web page from Sentido Analytica. Maybe you want to create the version number 4, the lines with the squares and the pattern field and the gray rectangle, date with date, users, or any measure or any measure or column. Click and create, and boom, voila, that's it. You can create number 1. Okay, important. Okay, so we have all the code here. You have access to everything, and you can create your own version of this episode. So we're going to create this from scratch, and the first step is to show you the table. The table is this: registers or registros in Spanish. We have the date column, a normal date, and a user column or any kind of column with a number or decimal number, integer, anything, to create something that in a horizontal time or in time lapse you can create something that goes up or goes down. I'm practicing English. So the first graph is this. We have an encoding here, X and Y, and then we have a layering to grab all the marks. Here we have 4 marks. The first mark is the bars behind the bars, the rectangles, the red rectangle and the diagonal stripe rectangle in the back. 1 mark. The second mark is the bars itself, the white bars with the gray stroke. Second mark. The third mark is the text. In this case, we have text. Yes, the text. 3 marks. Here we have 3 marks. So S is the field date from the calendar table. Here I'm using this field red here. This field here and here. This is the field date. The time unit is month. The month is because I'm translating or mutating the date to a month, similar to the DAX function format. You create a month using the date, you create a year using the date. So if we change here this month for week, for example, you see that the time will reduce week by week. So this is an alternative to create this. I'm using this month, time unit, month, but you can create year, quarter, month, date, week, blah 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 blah. If I use, for example, quarter, you will see that I have to eliminate the sort and first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, the fourth quarter. So if you can think about it how if like a format function. The scale, the padding in 0.4, this is x. Y-axis, it is the same from the previous videos, but I learned something in these days trying to replicate this here. The aggregate is important because of this. If I don't use the aggregate, you see all these lines, horizontal lines here. These horizontal lines is the gap between each day with the quantitative value. So I need to grab to layer in something that instead of being in a granularity from the date step, I need to grab all to a month granularity. I mean, so if I use the aggregate, this operator, and sum all the values from the y-axis, I will see this. This is important because sometimes you don't want to have that kind of granularity. This is something new for me. So the y-axis is sum, the aggregate sum, the type is quantitative, and the axis labels is in false because in true, you will see that I don't want the y-axis. So we have here the encoding and x and y. Then we have the layering. The layering here, all this is the two rectangles. The first rectangle is here with the values. The rectangles are the values that it has a start and also has an end. My start is January here and ends in May. Here, this January, May, January, May. The event or the legend is one stripes, some kind of documentation. So and this is August to November, red, August, November, August, November, all this. Something that I have to perform this to learn more or trying to understand is this number, because if I create this 3 stripes, you see that it comes to the end, and I want the stripes first. Also, if I eliminate the event here and here, it doesn't color the next bar, the next rectangle, and I need that. So I'm trying to understand more this kind of behavior. This format and parsed is this line chart with the highlighted rectangles. This is the same graph. In this parts is this kind of format. I don't really know how this is going to create the behavior, but this format is similar to the date. In this case, they are using year, and for me, I am using month. Is different. Then we have the encoding x and y-axis, x only x. Sorry, we have two x. The field start and field the time unit month. The field end for each one. So start is this January and August, and the end for each of the rectangles is May and November. This time unit, for me, I think it can be optional or not. I don't know really sure. I'm not really sure is is going to be necessary, but I will let them like the documentation. The color type is here, color field. Which color in which part of all this documentation I am going to color something. In the event is here, con control and F letter here, click an event, 1, 2, 3 events. It's very interesting, this kind of shortcuts. So the color field is event. I'm going to color this by a color range is different than the color schemes. The color range that I will use it is this. In this example from the documentation, the range is 3. 1 for purple, 2 for red, and 3 for teal. In my case, I'm going to use only the range with two colors. The diagonal stripe for the first color or the first rectangle, and okay, here the URL range for the diagonal stripes, and the other we'll see the rectangle. So here we finish the color. The legend is in null. I am going to show you if I remove this. You will see in the right corner the legend. I don't want that. Here I finish the two rectangles behind, and then you are going to create the bar, the same as the previous videos, the bar with the color, the stroke, encoding, the y-axis, the fill here, because I don't have to recreate the encoding from y-axis here, only the fill, because I have to aggregate. I previously aggregate the sum, the type quantitative, the axis and labels and false. Here, the encoding of the bar is only what are going to create the bars, the users, or the measure, or the column, or the column. And here we have the text integer, the text aligned in center, field, blah 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 blah. We have the encoding, the field user. We have here also an aggregate. It's interesting because without the aggregate, look what happened with the text. You will see that all the values overlap each other. So I need to sum all the values of the y-axis to present it as a total in the bar. So I'm learning. I'm still learning this kind of behavior. So it's interesting. I mean, but it's hard in the beginning. In this version, the number 2 is the same. I mean, it's the same, but the only thing different is because it's the January made from the magic mint color. This green magic mint is the color in internet. Magic mint starts in January, finalized in May, and this the eggshell here and here from May to December. If you change the number, for example, in September, here September in both, you will see that the green values look. And the other thing is the same. And this scale is not is a range also with two values, the green on the eggshell, and the third version. This is more interesting because we are using the highlight for the PBI color nominal from the previous video about Deneb 1.1, the new version, because in this version we can with only one click change the color of visual if we configure the PBI color nominal or ordinal or whatever with the parameters or operators and the color step. I mean, so it's very the same, but in this case, look what I did. It was the color was aquí. The scheme, we are using a scheme is different than a range. A scheme here in the documentation is this. Look, this is the previous one. A scale. We open the square curly brackets, I think is called it. The range. In this case, we are using a scheme. In Vega-Lite, there are several schemes for categorical schemes, sequential, divergent, cyclical. And in the previous video or episode, the 25 about Deneb, we use some kind of PBI color nominal, PBI color ordinal. In this case, we are using color nominal. Ordinal is this type of ordinal, this type of coloring the graph. Also, we have set 1. This is from the Vega-Lite. Set 1 is from Vega-Lite. If you want to use, for example, set 1 is this. But do you want to use this kind of two colors? You have to reverse the scheme, and you will see that here using reverse and true. Using true the reverse, and so using true the reverse, you change the behavior of the color. So I will set PBI color format, or PBI color format is this. In true reverse, no. PBI color nominal format, nominal. PBI color nominal. Interesting. This version has a legend with title, padding, direction, blah 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 blah. And for finalize this video, the version number 4, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 marks. We have here the encoding, the layering, first the rectangles, mark number 1, the mark number 2 is the line, the mark number 3 is the squares, the mark number 4 is a text. So that's it. Very interesting. I need to practice a little bit more. With this, we finalized this episode number 26 about Deneb and Vega-Lite here in Power BI.